Hey guys, so for my story, I chose to do The Blind Side, and this is a very familiar movie, and you've probably seen it or at least heard about it. And it's also a book, and it's about this man named Michael O'Hare, and he is a homeless high school student who turns his life around and becomes an amazing football player. So one night, the Tui family, they're driving home and they come across this kid, and he's just walking down the street, and he's in shorts and a t-shirt, and it's super, super, super cold outside. And they're like, okay, well, we got to pick this kid up because we can't just let him stay out here in the cold all alone. And they do this, and they give him a home, and they find out a little bit about his background, and he's been in and out of foster care all of his life because his parents abuse drugs and alcohol, and they just weren't adequate to take care of him. So they take him in, and they enroll him at the high school that their own kids go to, and it's a private Christian college, a private Christian high school. And at first they're like, well, I don't know that I want to let this kid into this school because he hadn't had a good background on his grades or his schoolwork, and he's just been in and out of school his whole life. Well, they finally give him a chance, and they're like, okay, well, what could go wrong? And the teachers realize quickly that he isn't learning like the other kids. He's struggling very much. And so some teachers are helping him, some teachers aren't. He's just really struggling. But in the midst of this, he's like, I want to play football. And he tells Leanne, the mom of the Tuies, and she's all for this. She gets him all the help that he can get to become a great football player. When he steps out on the field at first, though, he isn't wanting to hit anybody. He's really soft, and he just doesn't want to hurt anybody, and that's because of his past and what's happened when he was little. But it quickly changes because they tell him, you need to protect your teammates like you would protect your family. And this changes his whole mindset, and he becomes this great, fantastic player. And he gets a lot of recognition from college recruiters. So during all this, Leanne, she goes over to Michael's mom's house, and she's like, hey, we want to adopt your kid. We just want to know if this is going to be okay with you. And his mom, she's like, yeah, you go for it, because I feel like you guys can give him a much better life than I ever could and just take care of everything that he needs. And Leanne, she's like, thank you for your blessing. We'll take great care of him. Then they end up telling Michael, and he's all for this. He wants to be adopted and become a part of this family. After this, Michael, he's getting all these college scholarships, but he can't sign to anything until he gets his grades up. So they hire a private tutor for him, and he focuses on getting his grades up, and he finally does. And after that, he decides to go to Ole Miss. He signs to Ole Miss. But during this, there's a investigation opened up because they're suspicious about the Tui family taking in this kid, putting him and making him this great football player, and then putting him in the same school that the Tui family had went to. They eventually realize that this is just false, and they drop the investigation, and Michael goes on to Ole Miss. And this isn't shown in the movie, but after he goes to Ole Miss, he gets drafted into the NFL, and he goes to play for the Baltimore Ravens, and he wins a Super Bowl in 2012. And so I just think this story is very heartwarming, just because this family takes this kid in, and it changes his whole life, and he just becomes this great player, and just, it's a great story. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.